Hey guys, I own a LX3 Lateral X made by Bowflex, and I got on it one day and it made this like crazy squeaking sound both on the left and the right side. So I had no idea like what the problem was. Tried to look on YouTube, couldn't find it. So hence the reason why I'm putting together this video in hopes that it might be helping somebody else, save you a ton of heartache and problems. So the sound started coming. Obviously I'm no engineer, so I had no idea like where the sound was coming from. Tried to get a friend over to try to listen to where the sound was. So anyways, after going back and forth and listening closely, kind of finally deduced that the sound may be coming from this area right here. And the reason being is because when you're on the Lateral X, you're going to be pivoting left and right. So we took that one off already, but as you can see, here's the foot, and then as you step down, up and down, it's going to pivot on this area right here. So assuming that this was going to be where the problem was lying. And of course, once when you take off this cap, what you're going to see is this little, these washers here, and then this screw here, and then as you unscrew that, you get to this rod that's in here. And then within the rod, there's this ball bearing here that actually makes it pivot. And of course, when we took it out, you can see that it shouldn't be this way. And what it is that these ball bearings are supposed to pivot as you step. They're supposed to pivot in here. Okay. Oh, the other way around. Sorry. Is it the other way? This way? Okay, so as you can see, so the rod's in there right in the middle where my finger is. Assume my finger is the rod, and it pivots, right? So it goes back and forth so you can step. But over time, there's so much pressure with your weight that's pressing against the side of the cylinder that potentially, you know, any little imperfection in this little cylinder is going to rub on this thing. And that's exactly what happened to this thing. And over time, and it didn't take that much, it completely tore it to pieces. So this is what was making the sound, and it was happening on both sides. So called Bowflex. Bowflex, Bowflex customer service was amazing. Their people were great. Kind of walk through and advise us on what part to order. The unfortunate thing is that they don't sell the ball bearings separately, and really that's the only thing within this mechanism that's going wrong. So what they do advise is to buy this whole complete pedal arm. Again, I don't know for lack of a better term, but it's basically you'll get this part right here, from here to here, from there to where the leg attaches there at the end. And this complete piece is $111. So, you know, after spending, you know, $1,600 or so and forking over another $111 for each side, by the way, so that's $200 plus, and plus shipping. You know, that's not something that's that you want to look forward to, especially if it's out of warranty. So really the easy, you know, solution is we looked at the ball bearing here, and there's actually a part number which we lucked out on. The part number, as you can see, is right here. It's 30203. So I decided just to Google 30203 and the word bearing, and then lo and behold, like apparently this bearing is pretty uniform. It's used in a lot of I guess trucking, for trucking companies. Trailers, excuse me, trailers. All you got to do is just buy this ball bearing. It comes with its own cylinder, but obviously you don't need this because Bowflex is already welded into the frame here. Literally, all you need is the bearing once it ships. And depending on where you buy it from, it's literally like 10 bucks. So, oh, sorry, what I neglected to say is that each side takes two bearing sets. So one goes on top, the other one goes on the bottom. And you'll need to get 4 to replace both sides, and then you'll be good to go. But just a couple of things, you know, since we haven't replaced it yet. This may be a reoccurring problem just because of the engineering. And because this inner cylinder really needs to be super smooth. As you can see, this is what it's shipped with, and look how smooth that is compared to the inner cylinder here, because any little imperfection is going to grind that down. So I guess the only thing you can do is, number one, hope that your inner cylinder is free of any friction, but obviously that might not be the case because that's why you're replacing it in the first place. Secondly is that when you do replace it, try to maybe, I don't know, kind of grind some of the imperfections down, possibly. Again, I'm not an engineer, I don't know what you might want to use, but just kind of run your finger through it and then see if there's any imperfections on the cylinder and then grind that down so that it's smooth. And then the other thing is to, you know, lubricate it properly every now and then. Kind of a hassle, but in order to prolong the life of the machine, that's probably what you're going to have to do. So we haven't done it yet, but the next shot that you'll see is us replacing everything.
So right now we're just spraying some degreaser inside to try and clean up whatever leftover grease there is inside from before, and then we're going to re-lubricate it after we replace it. Also, this is a good way to clean out any of the filings that we found inside after the original bearing broke down. So just make sure you guys clean out the welded collar that's in there, so on both top and bottom, and then it should give you the best chance to, you see, I don't know if you can see that, but on the paper towel there's all
You
these.
can bring it closer to the camera, or just extend your hand.
Yeah, you see all the shavings that are right there. So definitely clean it out as best you can.
Oh, it's
See, still all the, there's some shavings right there. But after you spray on the degreaser and we'll kind of wipe it down, dry it up, you can run your hand along the thing, the inner cylinder. You can feel it's actually quite smooth now, pretty close to the cap that the ball bearing came with.
Or basically, it's the best you're going to get.
Yeah, the best you're going to get unless you want to engineer one yourself,
Which,
see, pretty good right now. And then to reassemble the cylinder, this is a cylinder that goes right here, and it's where the foot attaches to. This goes right up through there. Has the washer that goes on the bottom, and then one of these bearings with the taper side up, and it slides right down, and then
with a little force.
with a little bit of force, yeah. And then this is gonna go right up through there, and that bearing's gonna sit right on the inner collar right there. And this one goes right on the top like that after we secure it. It's gonna go right through there. And then there is this nut. Actually, this one goes right there. That, and then the nut goes right over it. And this nut just holds the cylinder in place.
How tight are you supposed to fasten the nut?
We're gonna fasten it as tight as we can.
Okay, so it's not gonna like.
Yeah, so it doesn't go up and down.
Okay. What's the socket number?
The 19 millimeter. Bowflex likes to use metric. So you're just gonna tighten it up until it's tight. It's maybe a little bit too tight. Don't over tighten it, otherwise your thing won't spin.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was meaning to earlier.
So you just want this bottom part to move freely. Still a little bit tight there, so loosen it up a little. Yeah, it's really so the leg can move back and forth laterally.
Do you think that's also possible, the cause, if it's over tightened?
Yeah, if it's over tightened, then what you can feel is it's catching. It's putting too much pressure on the bearings, and they're not meant to take it. All right, see, that's better. Okay. And then when you replace these washers, they go in a very specific order. I guess the one with
the double ring?
Yeah, the double ring. You can see it has a smaller ring it's to insert this leg part, in there, and then the other two go on top of that. So we're gonna replace this one. We take these out. This position. All right, there we go. Just gonna grab it mallet. So once it's in place, just get a rubber mallet and notch it so that the screw holes line up. And you got one hole right here, the left side, one on the right side. Here. Then when you put the washers on the top, there's two of them. One with a bigger hole, one with a smaller hole. The one with the bigger hole goes on the bottom, and then the smaller hole on top like that. Goes right over like that. And that. And your bolt. And then just remember it's a 6 mm Allen wrench. And then when you screw it down, just make sure you line the washers up so they're sitting right on top of each other. Okay. Just tighten everything up. See? Now it moves freely. Use any sort of lube, silicone spray. Right here I have chain and cable lube. This works great too. Just gonna put a towel down so it doesn't drip all over the floor here. And you're just gonna spray a tiny little bit into the joint, right up here. And it'll slowly work its way down. See? No more squeaks. Perfect. So let's reposition this back up here. I'll tighten it up.
So after we replaced the ball bearings on both the left and the right side, the noise no longer exists. So see how, or you can hear how smooth it is, everything back and forth. And the key is that when you do replace the ball bearings is to use some sort of lubricant on both the top and the bottom ball bearings once you put them in. So it will rotate smoothly, and honestly it shouldn't be a problem going forward. If you want to go the extra mile, maybe 6 months down the road or whatever, depending on how often you use it, to shoot some lubricant down there again, just maintenance. And that's it, problem solved.